SKALD Against the Black Priory is a 2024 indie game developed by the Norwegian High North Studios and published by Raw Fury. This game had a single developer, Anders Lauridsen, and by my understanding employed various freelancers for art and music. It's a retro-styled RPG with a huge cosmic horror theme. Imagine the Ultima series from the 80s and 90s meets a Lovecraftian setting and a little bit of alien movies. And, in my opinion, the immersion and the story are what this game does best. Don't be fooled by the pixel art. SKALD has its unsettling moments, given by its narration and that same art style, which can be underestimated. To give you an idea of my approach, I usually go all in when playing a game. I commit fully, striving to explore every aspect through completionism and multiple playthroughs. I typically hunt for all achievements and explore every story branch the game offers, among other things. While this can be time-consuming depending on the game size, it helps me establish what I feel is a decent baseline for discussing the game. Regarding achievements in SKALD, the majority are story-related and unmissable. Two involve side quests. One explores a smaller-scale Durlach tower with an eldritch horror vibe, and the other requires finding all the shrines across the archipelago's islands. The third achievement involves resolving a faction conflict without combat, and if you need assistance with it, I have a guide available. While it might be tempting to dismiss SKALD as just another indie nostalgia project, that would overlook its true value, which I am to highlight in this video. Crafted meticulously by a single developer, the game exudes a profound love and passion evident in every detail. Despite its affordable price tag, SKALD offers more depth than expected. A first playthrough can span 20 to 25 hours, especially if you delve into every corner. It effectively recaptures Lovecraftian cosmic horror through its descriptive prose, haunting music, and a plot that resonates perfectly with the genre. In my opinion, it's a hidden gem waiting to be discovered. Without any further ado, let's dive into it. The primary issue that stands out in the game is its UI font family. It becomes immediately noticeable and quite bothersome. This is a widely acknowledged problem and my main critique of the game. The fonts are hard to read and they lack contrast against the background. What helped was switching to an all uppercase font, adjusting the outline, and setting a darker background for the text. Ultimately, I settled on using a completely black background to maximize contrast. Now that's settled, I haven't encountered any significant technical issues with the game. I've heard that some people have experienced numerous crashes and performance problems. If Unity is causing you trouble, try disabling the lightning and weather effects in the display settings. It might improve your experience. Another point worth noting is that the window display mode felt too small for me. It only offers 4 fixed sizes without the option to adjust the resolution. Even the largest size was somewhat cramped on my monitor, as I prefer playing games in full screen mode. Switching to full screen mode adds black borders around the game window, similar to what you see in the video. Personally, it's not a major issue. I played older games with black bars on modern setups before, but a true full-screen experience would have been preferable for a 2024 game, even one with a strong nostalgia vibe. Speaking of framing, you also have a CRT mode for a full-blown nostalgic experience, which is a nice touch. Lastly, there were a couple of instances where the characters in combat didn't execute a second attack, even though their feat or maneuver should have allowed it. I couldn't pinpoint the exact cause, and while it wasn't a major issue, it's worth noting when discussing the game's technical performance. In the end, I would say the game, while not perfect, in its actual state is in good shape and more than decently polished. Now, I want to talk about what SKALD presents to you as soon as you start it. The first thing to choose is the game difficulty. You have the choice between the usual narrative, easy, normal, and hard modes, each preset affecting damage rolls for both you and enemies, healing rates, carry limits, and more. Here's the twist. While you must pick one initially, you can adjust your difficulty once the story begins. Moreover, you can fine-tune it modularly from the game menu. Ideally, I would have preferred this option up front, but it's still a feature I really appreciate. Modular difficulty allows players to enjoy a product in their own personalized way, which is a great thing to have because it gives you more freedom of choice in your experience. And it's particularly beneficial for those, like me, who enjoy experimenting to uncover different outcomes. With these modular options, you can fine-tune aspects such as automatically fully healing after combat, ignoring the weight of loot you hoard, prevent the main character from dying in combat, granting experience to down characters, eliminating the need for food when resting, and avoiding random encounters on the map. Some of these features can become tedious over time, so having the ability to bypass them can be quite beneficial from a quality of life point of view. When considering the overall difficulty of the game, SKALD being a CRPG implies some amount of number crunching. But this aspect is fairly restrained and not overly complex, allowing players to enjoy the game without feeling overwhelmed. While hardcore players can min-max and challenge themselves at the highest difficulty level, it remains accessible to the average player, especially on normal difficulty. As in every RPG, one of the very first things you're going to encounter is character creation. You're going to choose a class, a background, distribute some points in your primary stats and skills, and finally select your feats. Luckily, while the game has its own system, it's not overly complicated and can be decently mastered with just a little bit of reading. Lots of keywords linked to the mechanics are explained, while not always in depth, or at least not as in depth as I like. During the class selection phase, you'll choose from 9 classes categorized into 4 main archetypes: Warrior, Magos, the wizards of the setting, Cleric, and Thief. Among these, 4 classes represent the purest form of their archetype: Armsmaster, Guild Magos, Hierophant, and Thief. The remaining classes are hybrids, like the Champion, which blends warrior and cleric abilities, akin to a paladin, capable of combat, wearing various armors, self-buffing, and healing. Each class is detailed on the right, including the primary attribute you should focus on, and things like how many hit points and magic points you're going to get leveling up. With a party of 6, you have plenty of space. You're going to find companions to fill all the major roles, and you can also hire mercenaries to level up as you like, so feel free to create a character that fits your personal playstyle. Next, you'll choose a background from a selection of 12 or 15 with the deluxe edition. Each background provides useful flat bonuses such as increased stealth or improved diplomacy. The deluxe edition backgrounds offer additional benefits like bonus loot or experience, or a +1 movement point boost, which I found especially impactful. It generally makes sense to choose bonuses that will fit your class, no big surprises here. Then you have 5 points to distribute into your primary stats and 6 into your skills. They are all explained, and the game will highlight the primary attribute for the class you chose. Primary stats will directly influence your skills and secondary attributes like hit points, chances to hit, to dodge, etc. These are one of the most important choices you will make in character creation, because you will increase those stats only through equipment, buying specific feats, or through a secondary quest. Since we're discussing skills, it's a good time to explain skill checks. These are required for tasks like climbing cliffs, fleeing from random encounters, crafting, and more. Each skill check has a set difficulty class that you must beat. Your roll consists of 2d6 plus the relevant skill, such as athletics if you're trying to outrun an enemy. Typically, you can select the appropriate party member to attempt the check after it's declared, like choosing the thief to pick a lock. Next, let's talk about feats. You start with 6 points to distribute among various skill trees related to your class. These trees reflect your class's strengths and follow a tiered system. Typically, but not always, you'll unlock bonuses, attribute increases, and maneuvers every 3 points spent in a single node. However, the final tiers require a minimum level to unlock. You don't need to fully max out a node before moving to the next one. Usually, investing just 1 point is enough to progress. As you level up, you'll earn additional points to spend on these trees, which is the only way to gain battle maneuvers, passive bonuses, attribute increases, and more. The maximum level is 20, but you won't earn enough points to unlock all upgrades. There is no way to reallocate these points if you want to change your build, so make your choices wisely. You could potentially use the game console, which you can access by pressing tab, although I haven't tried using cheat codes. Still, it's a helpful option if you find yourself stuck. During your first playthrough, you might find all of this a bit overwhelming. Although most key terms and mechanics are explained by clicking on the relevant word, those explanations can sometimes be insufficient and cause confusion. More detailed explanation would have been beneficial. Finally, you choose your portrait and appearance. Since this is a pixel art game, make those 8 pixels represent your hair count. The game is new, so I'll try to stay out of spoiler territory the best I can, focusing only on the general story setup. I would say the story is one of the game's strongest selling points. Although not overly graphic in its horror, the Lovecraftian themes can still be unsettling and may not appeal to everyone. The story begins in medias res, with you waking up on a ship just as a fight is about to break out. As you attempt to resolve the conflict, a giant kraken-like creature attacks the ship, causing you to plunge into water and into memories. You remember growing up in the castle of the lord who hired you to find his daughter. Your father was his armed master. However, something happened, and your father fell into disgrace, leading you to become a hired sword. The lord's daughter, Embla, who is touched by magic, was your childhood friend. She has gone to the Outer Isles searching for something unclear, and you've been summoned and hired to find her. You need to journey to the northern archipelago, where unusual events are unfolding in search of clues about Embla's location. The ship and the memories serve as an immersive tutorial, guiding you through the game mechanics as you progress. Prepare yourself for a dramatic and unsettling journey, confronting horrors from the depths and encounters with the deranged. SKALD leans heavily on vivid descriptions, purposefully leaving much unexplained, inviting you to immerse yourself in the unsettling world of Lovecraftian horror. The game includes references such as an entire town inspired by the King in Yellow mythos. SKALD features a single ending. Your choices will lead you down the same path, somewhat limiting replayability unless you want to explore different character builds. While you can resolve certain challenges through varied approaches, like liberating a town from crazed cultists either by force or cunning, once resolved, the game's narrative mostly won't reflect the particular choice you made. I think this linearity reflects not only the game's indie nature, but also its adherence to the cosmic horror trope, where overwhelmingly impotent forces shape events, often relegating humans to mere pawns in their grand designs. Leaving companions behind has minimal impact beyond missing their related scenes. They may occasionally interject in dialogues or share opinions on specific matters, but they typically lack personal side quests. This can be disappointing since glimpses of their character and backstory are sprinkled throughout, leaving you curious to learn more about them. Speaking of lore, SKALD's lore is quite intriguing, even if sketched in broad strokes. The world is enveloped in a magical barrier known as the Reticulum, manipulated by the Magos. The most powerful Magos becomes the Emperor, ruling over a vast empire that our adventure only touches upon the outskirts of. Emperors wear masks, a symbol of the longevity granted by the Reticulum, though it's hinted that this longevity may come at a price. There exists a religious order devoted to worshipping the emperors and the deceased, with one of our companions being a cleric of this order. Throughout the game, we glean that the Empire may not prioritize the well-being of its subjects. There are labor guilds, such as the Nautical Guild that facilitated your journey to the Outer Isle, and expeditions for research and exploitation. All of this may leave you wondering about any potential connection between the Empire, its Emperor, and the eldritch horrors encountered. From a design standpoint, the game world is structured into area maps that unlock progressively throughout the story. Interior maps typically feature a specific entrance and exit point, such as a cave entrance, while exterior maps allow you to leave by reaching their borders. In addition to the area maps, there is a region map used for long-distance travel that you can freely explore. Some parts are initially locked, and they unlock as the main story progresses. The game employs a random encounter system that introduces random loot, merchants or enemies, which can sometimes be overwhelming. From mutated animals to brigands, combat is a significant challenge early on. You can try to flee, negotiate, or sneak away from these encounters, but not all situations may allow it. For instance, mutated animals are not open to parley. Escaping or sneaking away requires successful athletics or stealth checks. Also, initially you won't have all your companions, leaving you outnumbered and poorly equipped to confront enemies. Resting in the game requires food. While you have plenty of it later on, at the beginning you'll be in dire straits. Even deciding to rest for recovery becomes a tough choice, because you won't have enough. The game features a crafting system where you can purchase recipes to cook food and brew potions. Ingredients can be found as loot on bodies, in containers, or growing in the wild. Merchants sell recipes for hearty meals and potent potions, and characters with high crafting skills can produce more consumables using the same amount of resources. In the late game, you'll have a ship to navigate the archipelago, providing a place to rest and craft safely. Although there isn't an in-game map of the archipelago, navigation by sight isn't difficult. If you buy the deluxe edition, you'll have 2 maps of the archipelago, one labeled and one unlabeled to avoid spoilers. Generally, the game doesn't provide maps, encouraging you to adopt an old-school approach of drawing your own, with a notable exception being the sewer section of the main city, where you can obtain a map by completing a quest for an NPC. There is also perception mechanics of sorts based on the awareness skill and having your lantern equipped and ready. Under these conditions, your party can uncover hidden treasures, containers, and secret doors, making it useful to assign your most perceptive character as the group leader during exploration. Generally speaking, as with most RPGs, exploring at the beginning is much more challenging compared to the late game, when your characters are more powerful and better equipped. However, random encounters can still occur in the late game, keeping you on your toes. SKALD offers a classic gameplay experience. The maps are grid-based, and you navigate by clicking on your desired location or using the WESD keys. Interactions with containers, people, and resource gathering are performed in the same way. You engage in dialogues that present apparent choices, but the most significant ones determine whether you enter a fight or find an alternative way to handle the situation. Some quests offer different solutions, but these instances are relatively few. Occasionally, you encounter map elements that require a skill check, such as climbing cliffs or picking locks. You can choose the most skilled companion for the task after engaging with it, which is a welcome feature the game provides. I don't like when RPGs limit your interactions with the world to the current character. It makes sense to ask a qualified companion for help when you encounter something you're not very good at. Combat has a charming old-school clunkiness. While some fights can be avoided through dialogue or skill checks, main quests often compel you to engage in battle. Combat is turn-based, with a pre-battle phase for positioning your characters and companions on the map. Actions then proceed in initiative order, with faster characters acting first. Each round, a character receives a certain number of action points and one attack. You can buy additional movements and attacks from your class trees, making it fairly standard for those familiar with other turn-based games. Characters and enemies essentially have two health bars. The green bar represents hit points. Once it's depleted, the purple bar starts to diminish. During this stage, they accumulate wounds, which are debuffs that can be healed when resting. During combat, you may acquire conditions such as disease, bleeding, or poison, which can be treated with the appropriate clerical spells. In melee combat, you can only attack or use touch abilities in the 4 squares directly adjacent to you, not diagonally, meaning up, down, left, right. This limitation requires a more tactical approach, especially in interior maps, as characters can easily be blocked by their own companions or battlefield terrain. Ranged attacks and spells are not restricted by this, but are limited by resources like arrows or your magic pool, called attunement. It's easy to deplete your attunement in a single combat, requiring rest or frequent use of attunement potions to recover. Additionally, arrows are surprisingly scarce, often leaving ranged characters unable to fight effectively in the middle of a dungeon, even if you buy all of them from every merchant. This lack of arrows is one of the main issues I had with combat in the game. Spellcasting feels very powerful, but the need to rest so often is mildly annoying. I guess it's a trade-off between raw power and cost. The second issue is that it can be difficult to determine which character's turn is on the battlefield, depending on the terrain and number of people or monsters present. I often made the wrong move, thinking it was a different character's turn. I found myself frequently double-checking the highlight character on the party list on the right, because it was unclear on the battlefield, and it became a bit annoying. You can learn spells as you level up and from books you can buy. Additionally, there are battle maneuvers available from your character trees, such as the ability to shoot twice with a bow in a single round. These maneuvers typically have cooldowns to prevent spamming. Spells have a cascade effect, meaning there's a chance to cast another spell immediately after. The more powerful a spell is, the less chance you have of casting another one back to back. I particularly enjoyed the magic missile barrage that this effect provided. The issue was that the repeat last action button on the hotbar targeted enemies randomly, effectively nullifying its intended purpose. At times, a character will fail to perform an attack even when all conditions were met, and I never quite understood why. The enemy AI is relatively straightforward. They typically target the closest character or the one that last damaged them, if within range. Occasionally, they may swarm and focus their attacks on a single member of your party. I've mentioned resting and food before, but there is another aspect to it. You can rest in beds, bedrolls, or designated safe areas. During rest, you can assign party members to various activities based on their attributes. These activities range from buffing the party for the next day, scavenging for food, to teaching, which earns a small amount of experience points. When it comes to equipment, not all character builds are equally supported. Some types of characters find it easier to acquire suitable gear than others. For instance, magical medium swords, the one-handed ones, are more readily available through looting and merchants compared to two-handed weapons in general. making a two-handed build more challenging to optimize. Magical items typically provide bonuses to attributes, skills, or offer improved gear stats, such as damage or critical multipliers. Basic elements of RPG equipment that are likely familiar to you. In the game, there's a crafting system for food and potions. Characters with a high crafting skill can produce more with the same amount of resources. To craft, you approach the appropriate station, like a cooking stove, cauldron, or alchemist table, and select the desired recipe. The necessary basic resources are immediately added if you have them, and viable recipes are highlighted. While you can experiment by combining basic resources to potentially unlock new recipes, it's generally unnecessary as vendors offer plenty of them for like 4 golds, and after learning them, you can sell them back for like 1 or 2 gold. Graphically, the game leans heavily on nostalgic elements with its pixel art style, which is exceptionally well crafted. This pixel art style extends not only to the maps, but also to the cutscenes, let's call them that, all maintaining the same visual coherence. Surprisingly, despite its lack of realism, some scenes manage to be quite disturbing. Certain moments evoke a sense of horror, while others trigger an uncanny valley effect. Characters in dialogue goes from completely human and bestial to those clearly gripped by madness. I'll bring up the font choice again as it remains a notable issue. The fonts used are difficult to read and can strain your eyes, particularly during long sessions of gameplay, even if you have no eyesight issues. A common workaround is to opt for the largest uppercase font and set a black background. While this doesn't solve all problems, it does alleviate some of the difficulty associated with the font. The game features a total of 38 MIDI tracks from Romanos Surt that evoke the nostalgic sounds of 80s and early 90s gaming systems. These tracks are predominantly dark and somewhat unsettling, aligning well with the game's overall theme. When they are not, they recall that arcade feeling of old. You have the option to purchase them to further support the developer, or they are included in the deluxe version. There is no voice acting, just in case you were having wild thoughts. SKALD Against the Black Priory is a neat RPG that oozes nostalgia, appealing to all gamers who started their gaming experiences in the 80s and 90s, like me. But I won't say it's meant only for us. The general atmosphere of the game is its strong point. Eldritch horrors, continuous references to Lovecraft and the King in Yellow, and even a hint of Alien, all are features of the game. The gameplay is solid, even if generally clunky as you'd expect from a game design of that era. Technically, it worked quite well for me, though some players on the internet reported issues. If you are a nostalgic gamer, this game is for you. If you are an RPG enthusiast looking for experience a throwback or something a little different from modern RPGs, go for it. It's not even a short game, and you can buy it for 15 euros or US dollars, which is a very good price for a game of this length and overall quality. All in all, it's a game I had quite a lot of fun with. If you found this video helpful, please like, comment and subscribe. It helps me reach more RPG enthusiasts around the world. Regardless, thank you so much for watching. As always, take care of yourself. Remember, you are the hero and savior of your own story.